All right, you guys see that, right? That is a squash vine larvae. All right, the squash vine borer larvae. I was treating the plant with hot sauce and Vaseline when I saw this brass right here. That's what it looks like as they're biting into your plant. And so I started treating this area, and immediately, the larvae began to come out. Now, I knew that this would not make a healthy pumpkin. Too much of the original stem had already been eaten. So I broke it off because I wanted to show you guys why I do hot sauce and Vaseline versus BT. Look at that. That little sucker is basically dead. He wants nothing to do with the hot sauce that I put inside the stem. As he began to come out, I broke this off to bring it to show you guys how quick they're going to exit your plant. Now, a lot of people have asked me if they come out of the plant and they fall on the ground, or, you know, are they going to become a pest problem in the garden? And the answer is no. They cannot survive out of the stem until they're an adult. So once you get them to willingly come out or die, like this little guy is doing, you're good. Squash vine borer larvae issue over. So you can't get any better, guys, than hot sauce and Vaseline. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Starkey Farmstead. Before we begin our video, happy Memorial Day. Secondly, you guys like my throwback to the 80s. Loving my sweatband. I use it every year. It's handy dandy. Next thing, I am in long sleeves. A couple of reasons for this. South Louisiana sun is brutal. Absolutely brutal. It also traps my sweat to my skin, which keeps my core temperature lower. It also protects me just a little bit from the sun. Now, the next thing I want to do, I want to show you guys this amazing tool my husband bought me last year to help me trellis my tomatoes. Now, the way that this handy dandy little tool works, guys, is you just come up to your trellis, slide it around, try not to get your leaves, and it just, look at that. It just hooks the tomato plant to the trellis for you. Let's find another we can practice on. Trying to do this one-handed. I am gonna get a stand, guys. I keep telling y'all that, I really am. Here's a good one, watch. Uh-oh. You just go around it like this. And there you go. Tomato now trellised. Amazing little tool, inexpensive. You can find them online, and they are for trellising your tomatoes. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. Now let's get into this video. I'm not sure if you guys know this, but with your squash plants, your cucumber, your pumpkin, even your watermelon and cantaloupe plants, they should continue producing for you until they either die of disease or the first frost comes. Now, a lot of people are gonna be like, doesn't happen for me, Sam. I understand that. Pest, disease, they come in, they wipe out your crops, right? Well, we have other videos out there on how to handle squash vine borer, hot sauce, Vaseline, way cheaper than BT, much more efficient, works so much faster. But what I'm going to show you guys is a trick I learned from my 81-year-old Pawpaw Sammy. And this trick has served me so well over the last 2 years of growing, you know, pumpkin and squash and stuff. And I'm just going to show it to you real quick. Basically, you need to prune your plants. Now what I mean is, and I'm gonna try to hold the camera and show you guys, you're gonna start with your oldest leaves, and where the plant comes out of the ground, you're gonna start there, and you're gonna start removing those older leaves. You're gonna do this all throughout the growing life of the plant. That's gonna do two things. It helps your plant focus its energy on new growth, okay? So rather than keeping a leaf that's literally been there for 3 months and now is getting old and weak, that's going to attract pests. So by removing those older leaves, you're reducing pest pressure and possible disease. Second reason you're going to do this, it allows a better airflow through the plant, reducing things like powdery, mildew, and those types of diseases, okay? The third reason you do it is so that your plant can focus on new growth, and it's going to be on this new growth where your new fruits are going to be produced, okay? So you've got to get in there and remove the older parts of the plant constantly so that your new growth area will flower up and produce more. Last year I had squash plants that had 4 and 5 foot stems. No leaves at all. It looked so cool. But they were just these long bare stems, but I was still producing on the end where the new growth was. So that's what I want to show you today. And real quick, I'm going to prune a couple of these pumpkin plants so you can actually see me do it. So when looking at this plant, it comes out of the ground here, right? Right here. So we want all of these older areas to come off. Now, be careful if you've got flowering that you're not bumping into it too much. You can just take these off, okay? Once you cut it, and cut it as close as you can to the stem to stop bugs from going in. All right, so you just want to cut all that off, right? Take it off, put it in a bucket, and you can just gently go through. This also helps you notice if you're already getting hit by things like the squash vine borer, guys. So you really need to be able to examine your plants, and the only way you're going to do that is to get in here, pulling out some of this older growth. Now this is a relatively young plant, but that's okay. It still has some leaves that I can remove. Now let me tell you what I do with my bucket full of leaves. I dump this into the chicken coop and I feed the leaves to my rabbits. Rabbits love them. It's a great way to naturally feed your rabbits. If you don't have chickens and if you do not have rabbits, then my advice to you would be to compost them because they're not diseased. Now look, as I'm in here doing this, look what Sam found. It's time to go get my hot sauce and my Vaseline. This is why you're gonna prune and prune often, right? That's when you're gonna find, before it really affects your plant, this is when you're gonna find disease. This is when you're gonna find pest, right? When you're all up in this plant, pruning it. Again, there's another one, all right? So that's an indicator that this plant is now being slammed into by the squash vine borer, and I'm gonna need to do some treatment. So I'm gonna cut this video short because I already have pumpkins growing. Look at that, beautiful pumpkins growing, and I don't want my plant to die. So I'm gonna cut my video short, and now it's time for me to go doctor up my plant. I do want to point out too real quick, as I was getting in here, look at this. You see this? That is frass. That is what the squash vine borer leaves behind when it's burrowing into the stalk. So this whole plant needs to be doctored.